This is Fearless Beauties, a podcast dedicated to developing voices of color in the beauty industry. We are talking to estheticians, skin specialists, and business owners to uncover best skin practices, tactical career tips, and ultimately, how we can create a better beauty industry together. I'm your host, Taylor Phillip.
And I'm your other co-host, Alyna Velez. Welcome to the latest episode of the Fearless Beauties podcast.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 8 of the Fearless Beauties podcast. I am Taylor. I have my co-host here with me, Alyna, and today we are going to talk about name discrimination in the beauty industry. We're getting deep.
Yes, we are getting into it. My mind is just blown on this subject because I really didn't know how much of a thing this really was. Did you, Taylor?
Same. No, I had no idea. So I know in Season 1, Mary and we discussed a lot about discrimination, period. We never really talked about name discrimination, but I feel like the underlying, not underlying tone, but behind name discrimination is just racial discrimination.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And it's deeply rooted. The racist practice of mispronouncing names has evolved from a long history of changing people of color's names to strip them of their dignity and humanity.
Yeah. And that's all the way back to the days of slavery.
Right.
So slaves were given their owners' last names. And that's kind of why, I think one example is even in my family, my ancestors' names are Smith, Hepburn, and even though that may be common Black names, my grandma told me that it goes back to the slave owners' last names. So
right.
It's absolutely crazy to know that my grandma and grandpa's last name is from their father's slave owner. So
right.
Yeah, it is absolutely crazy. And it's really disheartening to know that it's still in effect today. Like, it still affects us in 2021. Not that slavery, it will ever kind of be like downplayed at all, but it's crazy to know that it is still affecting us today. So,
and affecting us in the way how we're applying for jobs. I read this field experiment that was done by a research faculty where they responded to help wanted ads in Chicago and Boston newspapers. And so what they did was they sent out resumes with either quote unquote remarkably common African American names or white sounding names such as Emily Walsh or Greg Baker, right? Mm-hmm. So then they measured the number of callbacks received for interviews, and the studies showed that job applicants with white names needed to send about 10 resumes to get one callback. Those with African American sounding names needed to send out 15 resumes to get one callback.
Yeah, and that's
it just blows my mind that now minority job applicants are whitening their resumes by deleting references to their race with hope of raising their chance of employment. And research shows it's working.
Yeah, and that's I was reading an article almost the same, and I was thinking about the findings of it, and I was like, man, I really wish that it wasn't true that minority applicants are getting called back because they're whitening their names. I really wish the study ended in, there's really no significant difference, because
right.
It is truly sad that a minority applicant will not get a job because of what their parents named them. It's like,
right.
We don't have that choice. And I mean, people can change their names, it's possible, but
But they should do
what
it
if,
because they want to,
right,
right?
what if you love your name and you, what if you love your name and you graduated from an elite university and you have
Right,
all of the credentials, but you don't get a job because of your name?
right. You don't even get looked at. You don't even get a chance. What does this say about our society?
We just have a lot of work to do, Alyna. Like, it's just,
Girl, I feel like we're in denial. I feel like so many people are in denial because I also read that in 2018, the census population projected in year 2045, the US will become minority white, meaning white people will be the minority.
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's even in Mary's book, in Fearless Beauty's book. It's there, yeah, definitely 2045. I think her book said 2030 something, but there are going to be more blacks, Hispanics, multi-ethnic people in this world.
Right, right. And so why is there this resistance and this pressure to whiten your resume and shorten your name to be accepted? Yeah, it's really disheartening.
I was saying you asked the question why, and I feel like we always ask that same question, but I mean, truly, what is the answer? Like, there's really no answer that's going to sound remotely acceptable.
I agree.
I think we could ask why for days and days and years, and there's always going to be like, I don't know why. Like, I really do not understand why the world hasn't fully grasped that whites and blacks were equal. I mean, of course, we're not
Right.
equal in like societal sense, but we are equal. It's just the color of our skin. You're Hispanic. I
Yep.
am African American. Mary is white. We are coming together to create this podcast and we are treating each other equally. Why can't it
Mm-hmm.
extend? Like, what is making Caucasians just like stop in their tracks and be like, oh, that's a black person?
Right.
I don't understand. I don't get it.
Well, to touch on, kind of how, I'm Puerto Rican, you're black, Mary's white.
Mm-hmm.
We bring something different to the table. We all have different perspectives on things, and so that's what makes this inclusive, and that's what is growing this, right?
Yeah.
Is all our different perspectives on things. And I think that we need more of that in the workplace.
Yeah.
And I feel like employers need to be more intentional about hiring diverse individuals. And I read that one place, when they hold interviews, it's a requirement to include at least 2 women and or 2 underrepresented minorities for interviewers. I think that's a good way to
Yeah, that's a good start.
hold people accountable, hold companies accountable, and just putting processes and systems in place that again just hold companies and employers accountable.
Yeah. And I even think a little bit further, how can those the hiring managers, the what is it called? The HR department, how can they combat when their bosses aren't being intentional about creating a more diverse environment in the workplace? Like, if your boss was overtly just racist, how would you combat that in order to hire minorities and, like I mentioned, just create a more diverse workplace? Like, what would you do? That would be like, and that's even a question for me. Like, I wouldn't even know how to even do that.
Go
I
about
mean,
it. Yeah.
yeah, I know Mary and I, we talked a lot about just like standing up for them and
Right.
being the voice when they can't be the voice.
I think it is also going to start, when you are job hunting, do your research, and look at the company's missions and
Right.
values. And if they don't align with your missions and your values in life, then that's probably not the company for you.
Yeah, that is a great point. Like, you don't want to work for a company that doesn't align with who you are. So
Right.
that's a great point, Alyna. I really like that. I have a funny story. When I was in high school, no lie, there was a peer. We really didn't converse much, but her name was To Light a Candle.
I love
And
that.
she was African American. And I remember thinking, I remember going home telling my mom what her name was. And my mom was like, the first thing my mom said that I remember is like, how is she ever going to get a job? You
Mm,
know? And this is an African American woman saying this because we know that our name, it makes a difference. I mean,
it does.
my parents named me Taylor, which is it is a white name.
Do you know what your name means though? Like, have
My
you ever
mom,
Googled the meaning of your name?
no, only on like Urban Dictionary, but you know that's like Wikipedia. It's made up.
Yeah.
But my mom named me after Wonder Woman, I think she said. Wonder Woman's like real name. It was something Taylor or Taylor something. I don't know. My mom loved Wonder Woman, so she named me that. But all my life, Alyna, I promise you, people thought I was either a white man or a white boy or a
Mm,
white girl. So every
mm,
time they actually saw me in person, like for job interviews, I would literally focus on their mannerisms and their just aura.
just,
Like, I want to
yeah.
see when I walk into the room what you think. Oh, yes, my name is Taylor Phillip. And I mean, you could hear my voice. I don't, well, people have told me that I don't sound black. So,
And whatever that means, right? Whatever that means.
exactly. That's a whole different story, but
Uh
I
huh.
don't sound black. So when I walk into a room for a job interview after like a phone interview, their eyes like, "Oh, hi." I'm like,
Mm
"Hi."
hmm.
Like, "Hi."
Yeah.
And it was 95% was, "Oh, hi. Hi Taylor, nice to meet you." Hi.
Hmm.
Like, were you not expecting,
Yeah. Yeah.
me? So, but you can't just
Yeah.
like not hire me anymore because I'm black. You know what I mean? So,
Right. It's so
eh,
true.
I wonder what To Light a Candle has to go through, or Jamisio, or Nikisha, or,
Right.
those beautiful African American names
That have true meaning, right? That's rooted in them. My thing,
in their culture. Yeah.
my business, True Skin Lab, it's being true to you. And I just think your name is it's you. Your parents chose that for you because that's your being.
Yeah.
And like for myself, Alyna Velez, it's spelt kind of funny. And so I remember being in grade school and teachers stumbling over my name or, not pronouncing it correctly. And finally I was like, you know what? Just call me Allie. Like, you can't
Right.
say Alyna right. Just call me Allie. And so I just felt like it saved me and them embarrassment. And now I feel like I fully embraced it. And if you can't pronounce it, then that's your problem. But I have no problem with correcting people now. When before I'd be timid and just kind of take it. But yeah, I feel like it shouldn't be an exception. It should be the norm that people are saying your name correctly, and you don't have to feel bad about correcting them.
Right. Or even if you go into a workplace and your male or female boss is like, oh, I cannot get your name correct. I'm so sorry. Oh, well, I will teach you how to pronounce it. Here it is.
Yeah,
Like,
I think being vulnerable enough to say, how do I say your name? Just
yeah.
taking that extra step to ask because you care instead of just taking a stab at it and, oh, whatever. If it's wrong, whatever. No.
Right. This is my name. Here it is. I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I mean,
Right.
just because I have a unique name, quote unquote
Mm-hmm.
unique, doesn't mean that I need to like rename myself or even give myself a nickname. And I feel like, have you ever like seen the movies where there's a male boss and then there's a woman with a difficult to pronounce name and he's like, "Oh, I can't get it right. So I'll just name you blah." And
Mm-hmm.
then you see the woman just like head down and walking. Like I've seen so many movies like that where the boss, I'm thinking like psychologically, like maybe he's just too proud to pronounce it, and because he's the boss, he's like, whatever, I'll just give you a new name and move on. I think there's some type of pride that goes with it. Like, I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's a little too difficult for me. So instead of trying, I'm just gonna rename her. It's very like disgusting.
I agree.
I just hate it.
It does something to your self-worth. You know, it makes you feel some type of way. Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. But why is it always men?
Okay.
Why is it always the men in power? Hello?
Yeah, exactly. And back to what you were saying, Alyna, you were saying about your business, True Skin Lab, and how it's embodying being your true self. So I was thinking, my daughter's, one of her, she has two middle names because I did the most, but one of her middle names is Zahara. That's a true African name, like truly African name, and it means to blossom. And like you said, there's meanings behind the names that parents give their children. Like, so I could just almost think, like, when she's growing up and she's like, yeah, my name is Lauren Chandler Zahara Steele. And they're like, Zahara? Oh, that's unique. And she's like, yeah. Or they'll just call her, like, what if she wants to go by Zahara instead of Lauren? Or her other middle name is Chandler. That's her dad's name. Her dad has it is a white name, Chandler. Like, when I first met him, I was like, oh, your name's Chandler? Okay. My name's Taylor. We both have white names, and I can say that because it's my name and it's true. Like, it is a white name.
Sure.
So if we were to ever call her Zahara, I would just love to see how people would react, because it's not a common name.
It's not, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I would hope that if somebody, an employer or an acquaintance or whoever, I feel like if they were curious enough to know, that Zahara's a beautiful name, I hope that they would do some research and dig deeper and truly understand. And I hope that could translate into the workplace too, you know, instead of shortening your name or, whitening your resume or what have you, really just being your true self. And like I said, if an employer is going to look at that and judge you right off the bat, not even give you a chance, you don't want to be there. You don't want to be there. I encourage everybody listening to Google the meaning of your name if you don't know the meaning already, because it's pretty cool. My name, Alyna, means a ray of sunshine.
Oh,
so
that's beautiful.
Shout out my mama for that one.
I'm actually going to look up mine. I mean, I've never done
it. Yeah.
No, honestly, I've looked up my name and it means literally tailor, like Tailor.
Like to tailor your clothes or...
Yes.
That can't be right.
Alyna, I'm so serious. Okay, what is the biblical meaning of... Oh, look at that. The biblical meaning of tailor translates to clothed with salvation or eternal beauty. Oh, snap!
There
Love
she is.
It.
There she is.
Everyone, take Alyna's advice and Google your name, because I'm almost shedding a tear. Like, when my mom gets home, be like, Mom, you named me Eternal Beauty.
Yep.
Look
that sounds
at that.
right.
And if you
That's
can
awesome.
hear like the tone in my voice, it's like, oh my gosh, like it makes me feel great.
Right.
Knowing
a little bit
that,
more purposeful. Right.
Right. That is absolutely amazing. I love that. That is everyone's homework after after listening to this episode. Go look up your name, and whatever that meaning is, if it's positive, take it. Like, dive into that and be that. You know what I mean?
Right.
That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, so we talked about the whitening of the names, and I kind of want to talk a little bit about, what do you think Black people or even Hispanic people think when they need to whiten their names? Like how you said, oh, just call me Allie. That's white. That's like Allison. Or what do you think we think as minorities to where we have to be like, ugh, just call me this.
I think that we are making life easier for other people, but in the meantime, we're losing our identity. And I just think it just kind of puts you off
Devalues you.
that devalues you and puts you off track from your journey, and you're conforming to what other people want you to be. And that's not why we're here. We're here to live up to our purposes and, you know, live your own journey and not conform to what the world tells you you need to be. That's what I think.
No, that's absolutely correct. And I think another one, you said make life easier, but also make those people more comfortable, I think.
Right.
Like, why do you need to make another person comfortable because they don't know how to pronounce your name? That just sounds silly coming out of my mouth.
Exactly.
I mean, so we need to stop that. Like, nip it in the bud. This is my name. And I should not be offered a job because you cannot pronounce my name, or you don't like my name, or my name is too black, or my name is too Spanish or Hispanic, like Jesus or other common Hispanic names. Like, I'm sure there's some discrimination around that as well. Why?
I think inclusive hiring should be intersectional and consider more than just gender, race, your name.
Look at my qualifications.
You know, and it doesn't happen overnight. I realize that, you know, making a workplace diverse, it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
But it starts with asking questions to your employees, you know, really building a solid relationship with them, and maybe, I don't know, maybe going to like events, or, you know, sitting down and watching like a webinar on how to be more inclusive. I mean, there's a lot of resources online if you truly want to be an inclusive workplace. We have tools. It's a simple search.
You said the word. The word is want. If you really want to, like, if you feel like you have to, then it's going to show. But it's the intentionality of it all. Like, you need to kind of like be assertive in going forward with being more diverse. Like you said, do the webinars, like
do
go
the work. Don't just post pictures of, you know, Black or Mexican, or, you know, post these ads or whatever. No, do the work. And because people can feel your authenticity. You know,
exactly.
You can feel when someone's coming from an authentic place, or if they're just trying to kind of check the box, you know?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of checking boxes going on.
Definitely.
And as an esthetician, Alyna, I think we should talk a little bit more about the beauty industry. Like, have you noticed any name discrimination in the beauty industry? Like, I know it was definitely the first season of the podcast. I think it was like the third episode. We talked about how we actually had a guest speaker come on and say how it took her so long to get a loan for her small business, her small business, because she had an Hispanic name, like opposed to a Caucasian SD who can get a loan like that. And she mentioned it being because of her name, her race. So have you witnessed any of that or gone through any of that?
You know, luckily I haven't been in too many situations in the aesthetic industry where I felt like that. And I feel like Mary, when I was attending Spectrum, she really set the tone and just made students aware that this really is a problem that you could face, and not every place is like this. But I've never had to apply for a loan yet, and so I do know that it's a proven fact that people of color, I mean, even in like the housing industry, I ran across this article where this Black woman was saying that she went and got her house appraised twice, On the third time, she told the lady that she was meeting that she was out of town and that her brother was going to meet her for the appraisal. Well, her brother was white, and that third appraisal went through the roof because
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't there. And so
Yes.
I know that it's a real thing in the beauty industry and in so many avenues of life. And again, why?
Yes. And while you said that, I was like, why? That's the question I always ask myself that I don't think we'll be able to answer for a very long time. But
Mm-hmm.
honestly, why did her house get appraised for much higher?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because the appraisers didn't know her race.
Right.
But if they knew that she was black, it's like, or even when minority applicants put their address on their resume and maybe they live in a low socioeconomic community,
Right.
do they get, rejected
Mm-hmm.
because they live
Yeah.
where they live? Like, that's not
Right.
fair.
But going back to the beauty industry, I think that's why companies like Fenty are so celebrated, because you feel that authenticity and that inclusion. And that's just one I can think off the top of my head. I know there's probably a few more, but it makes me wonder, maybe we need to shift our focus instead of trying to change this deeply rooted racial, corruption in the
Mm-hmm.
world. Instead of trying to like really change that, like leave that there and let's start something new.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, slavery, it's always going to be there, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
like, yeah, I love that. Let's
let's
start
let's
something new.
let's refocus our energy instead
Right.
of, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to, kind of fight it or whatever, but I think maybe we would be more successful like just sitting at a new table instead of joining the old table. Let's
Right.
start a new table, and I want inclusion at this table. Who's with me?
Right. And I think as a black woman, I appreciate that because no one wants to talk about the reason why there's discrimination is because of slavery. Like, no black person wants to continue talking about that. The only reason why I feel, in my opinion, there's so much talk about it, and I forgot the word, but the reason why it's still so big is because not enough is being done. So if things start to get done, like you said, let's start a new conversation. Let's do something different. Let's sit at a different
Mm-hmm.
table. I think there won't be, oh, it's because of slavery. Oh, it's because of slavery. I don't think that would
Mm-hmm.
even be a topic anymore because change is being made. I think we just want to
Yeah.
see change being made.
Shifting our focus, and we
Right.
would be it would outshine just kind of the ugliness of.
Right. Well, no one wants to sit in that. No black person
Mm-hmm.
wants to sit in my ancestors were slaves. It's not like we're trying to use that as like a
A crutch.
right. We're not trying to lean on that.
Right.
We're just talking about it because the reason why we're still in this place is because of it. So let's get out
Mm-hmm.
of it.
Right.
Right? Like
Right.
that's get out. Like no
I
one wants to sit
agree.
in that.
I agree.
Those were horrible times. No one wants to keep focusing on that. Just,
Mm-hmm.
let's move
Yeah.
on.
Let's do
I'm
it.
not I'm not saying forget about it
Right. No, I think
but
that
move
knowing
on.
knowing history, because history does repeat itself, you do need to know what has come before you so that
Right.
we can do different. And I think
I like
really
that.
really pouring into the youth, because it's the generations to come that are
Right.
gonna carry this legacy out. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just think pouring into the youth and leaving the door open and letting it be
Right.
known.
Yeah, I mean I love how we kind of almost came to a solution kind of like let's stop leaning on that and let's stop being uncomfortable with Black names or Hispanic names or whatever because of the past. Like, we already know what the past is. Let's move on. Like, get out of that
like there's
uncomfortability.
so much, so much ugliness, just and negativity with the pandemic and everything. I just feel like, the power of the mind, all that stuff can really consume you. And imagine if it was really good stuff that we were working towards, and letting that consume you and seeing how that will change your world and just our everyday life.
Literally change the world. Yeah, I love that. Because we tend to, as humans, of course, we tend to focus more on the negative. It's so much easier to focus on the negative, which is horrible. That is just human nature. So I think just trying, like we talked about a little bit ago, intentionality, just really wanting to become more positive. I think that will, I mean, it's not going to happen overnight, but I think that will help a lot. So
I agree.
I think we came to an almost solution. I feel like I don't know.
It's a big fish to fry.
Yeah, it's very complex. There's a lot of parts that go into it, but at the end of the day, I think just being more positive, having a positive mindset, wanting to be better, wanting to like call out these people who aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and like Alyna said, finding another table to sit at.
And being true to you. And
unapologetically. Yeah.
Hello.
Definitely.
Yep.
Period.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think we kind of touched on all the points we wanted to.
Yeah, I feel good about it.
So Alyna, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, so you guys can find me at True Skin Lab on Instagram. And I really do want to connect with more of you guys. So give me a follow. Let's connect. And
hear that sultry voice every other week,
Yes, please. Subscribe. Give us 5 stars, all of it. Tune in.
Yes, and you can follow me at Taylor Budgets on Instagram. And of course, Mary, who isn't with us today, but you can follow her at Your Etsy Godmother on Instagram. Fearless Beauties on Instagram. All the good stuff.
Awesome.
Y'all be safe out there. Bye.
Bye.